You're tuned into Intellectual Radio.com.
And welcome to a Greater You Show. And I'm your host, Dr. Anthony L. Gantt, and we're here on IntellectualRadio.com. Again, we're here doing a Greater You Show, and we're at the station that says Feed Your Brain. So I'm going to do my small part to help feed your brain here today on the topic of habits. So we are all working in part two, Living a Good Life is really what this series is called, based on the book My Habits Rule, you see here. And we're going to talk about some of the things of habits. Somewhat of a recap just to catch us up. Last week we talked about the importance of habits, how they make an impact in your life, and the big impact they make in your life, and how you can live two different lifestyles, either a good lifestyle or a bad lifestyle. And what determines whether or not you do that will be predicated on the habits that you do. Good habits will make sure you live a good life, and bad habits will make sure you live a bad life. Now, good habits will not allow you to live a bad lifestyle, and bad habits will not allow you to live a good lifestyle. So, in other words, your good habits would be a prevention mechanism in regards to living a bad life, and your bad habits would be a prevention mechanism in regards to living a good life. So, you want to realize that you have good habits, and it's all based on your behavior, like we discussed last session. How you behave, be, and have your habits will make an impact on who you will be or become, and your habits will make a large impact on what you will have. If you don't like the person you have become, you need to stop liking the habits that you're doing. If you don't like the things you have in life, you need to stop liking the habits that you're doing. If you like the habits, then that means you're going to end up living the lifestyle. So that's good if you're doing good habits, but that's terrible if you're doing bad habits. So I also shared with you last week as well that there are laws to habit. Habits, there's the laws to habits. Now, some people again state that habit is a law. Unfortunately, that's their particular perception of it. In the book, I share with you 14 different laws of habit. And obviously, I want you to look at the laws of habit similar to how you look at maybe purchasing an automobile. When you have an automobile, you have certain laws that you need to apply that's applied to you because you have the automobile. You have insurance laws, right? You have speed limit laws. You have sticker and registration laws. You have emission test laws, right? You have all these different laws that's applied to you because you have an automobile. Now, if you don't have an automobile, then auto insurance is not applicable to you because you don't have an automobile. Stickers and registration and all those different things aren't applicable to you because you don't have an automobile. Well, see, in the laws of habit work whether or not you're doing good habits or bad habits. So you can't say it's not applicable to me because all you need to have the laws of habit work for or against you is a life. If you are alive, then the laws of habit are working either for or against you based on what habits you do. And that means that they're working for or against you based on living a good life or a bad life. Now, that's important for you and I to know because you can operate by the laws. And because you're operating by law, you can say, why is this happening to me? But your ignorance of the law still can put you in a bad lifestyle, even though you're ignorant of the law that's going on. Now, I use the example with the automobile because you have these laws that's attached that's applicable. You'll notice, especially for those that purchase the book and read the book, you'll notice that some of the laws are connected with one another. They're applicable. These three laws kind of work together, but all the laws are connected with one another. All 14 of the laws are connected to one another, and they all would predicate whether or not you're going to live a good life or a bad life. They're not good laws or bad laws. They're laws, and the habits you do would determine whether or not you're gonna have a good life based on the law or a bad life based on the law that you using. So since I gave all those preliminaries about the laws, when you have laws are like rules. Everywhere you have rules, right? You have rules in your house, go to bed at 8 o'clock, you tell the children or whatever, right? You have these rules. Well, same thing, these are rules. Your life is being ruled by your habits. Your habits are the rulers to your life. And if you have bad life, you got a bad ruler, right? Well, that means if you have good habits, you have a good ruler. And once you understand that they're the rules to your life, they impact your mode of operation or mode of operandus, as it's called in the Latin, which means your operating mode, meaning that your life is a mode that's being operated or a model. So your habits are modeling your life. What do I mean by that? Your habits are shaping. That's what a motto is, right? It's a shape. Your habits are shaping your life, whether it's good or bad. Now you say, well, I got this bad life. Well, you mean they're being shaped by bad habits. You say I have this good life. Well, that means they're being shaped by good habits. Now here's the thing. Someone may say, well, you don't understand. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can do good habits. Nobody's perfect. You don't do good habits because you think you're perfect. You do good habits because you don't want to live a bad life. That's why you do good habits. Perfection is not even relevant in this particular conversation because we know no one is perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one on the planet is perfect. However, that does not determine whether or not you can live a good life or bad life, and it doesn't mean that you use it as an excuse to do bad habits so you can live a bad lifestyle. Yeah, you're not perfect. That's true, but that doesn't mean you can't live a good lifestyle by doing good habits. That's the good thing about it. You can take an imperfect person like you and I, do good habits, and then you can live a good life. Or you can take an imperfect person like you and I, and do bad habits and live a bad life. But it won't be because I'm not perfect. It'll be because you're doing bad habits, and that's what have you in a bad lifestyle. So I said all that to kind of give you an idea of the laws of habit, because for the next few sessions and everything, till we complete this series, we're going to talk about a certain law, each law, one law, I should say. And I might implement some other laws as we go along, but I can't implement all 14 laws, obviously, in the time frame that we have, even in a 1 hour show, and then obviously for the month that we're doing it in. So I'm going to talk about a particular law, that particular show, as the foundation. So one of the questions that were asked of me from last week's show is all that stuff you said in chapter one? And the answer is no, it isn't, right? I kind of sprinkled some things throughout the book in our conversation last week. I just used chapter one as the foundation for the actual show. So for this show, the foundation for the show is actually the lesson for today's lesson is lesson five. And lesson five is, where you live. So we're going to talk about one of the laws in regards to lesson five. So you live where you live. Now, when I say that, some people automatically think I'm talking about their address, 123 Main Street, right? But I'm not talking about your address. You live in your habits, and where your habits are where you live. I said the same thing two different ways, right? So here's what I mean. If you look at the word habit, the word habit is the root word to the word habitat. Habitat is where you live. You and I live in our habits. Now that's pretty deep right there. At least to me, simple, but it's profound, right? You live in your habits, I live in my habits. If you want to know your address per se, your life address, all you need to do is look at your habits. When you look at your habits, you live in your habits. And so where you live, you will build. You will build where you live. What do I mean by that? Because you have these habits, you're doing these habits all the time. Just like I said in the last session, right? If you're doing habits all day long. Again, you're not doing all your habits all day long, but you are doing habits all day long. You may say, well, I'm doing nothing. That may be a habit for you, how you do your nothing, right? That's a habit too, right? You may say, I'm running around the block. The way you run around the block is the habit that you use to run around the block. You may say, well, this is the way I do it. Well, that's the habit that you have. So since you're doing habits all the time, you are always building your lifestyle every day. All day, every day, you build on your lifestyle. This is why this is important, because once you start doing bad habits in one area of your life, for some strange reason, you start doing bad habits in another area of your life. Then you look up 3, 4, 5 years later, you doing bad habits in 3, 4 other areas of your life, because bad habits will make sure you continue to build a bad life. Well, same thing goes the other way. You do good habits in one area of your life, and you look up a year later, you're doing good habits in 2 areas of your life. And then 2 or 3 years later, you are doing good habits in 4 or 5 areas of your life. And you know why? Because good habits will actually build a good lifestyle. That's the purpose. See, the objective is for you and I to want to live a good lifestyle. That's the objective. The more you are interested in living a good lifestyle, the more you realize that good habits will fit you into a good lifestyle. And bad habits don't fit into a good lifestyle. They only fit into a bad lifestyle. Once you understand that, once you get that in your mind there and get it in your heart and everything, you understand, okay, I want to live a good lifestyle. And the only guaranteed way I can live a good lifestyle is by doing good habits. If I don't do good habits, I can't live into a good lifestyle. It's just that simple. If I don't do bad habits, I can't live a bad lifestyle. Right? So when you understand those things, now you say, okay, what good habits, like I said last session, write down some of the good habits that you do, right? Because sometimes when we think of habits, we automatically think about all the 25 bad habits we have. Oh man, I do this wrong, that wrong, I do this all the time. So that's automatically where we kind of shift to all the bad habits we have. And sometimes we're so used to looking at our bad habits so much, and I need to correct that bad habit, I need to get rid of that bad habit. Then when you tell someone to sit down and look at some of the good habits that they have, they're almost like shocked. They can't find any. They say, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of some good habits that I have. They can't even think of it because they've been so focused on the bad habits that they do. And I understand that because bad habits will get your attention. Oh yeah, they keep your attention. When you lost 4 jobs in a row, and when all these things, you tore up 25 relationships, and you have lost, thousands of dollars. Yeah, that gets your attention. Yeah, that really gets your attention, right? When you've been evicted 13 times, yeah, that gets your attention. Yeah, that gets your attention. So people know that their bad habits are hurting them, but they don't realize that they are doing some good habits. So really, you have to be reminded, and a person like me have to remind you that you are doing some good habits. Don't think that all you doing all day are a bunch of bad habits. Your attitude might be a pretty good attitude. You might be a nice person. You might be polite. Somebody might do something for you. You say thank you. You say, "Oh, that's nothing." Well, it's a good habit because some people you can don't say thank you. A man can open the door for you, and a person, woman, walk right in and don't say thank you. See, that's a habit. She never says thank you. Regardless who opened the door. So that's why you don't take it personal. Some women will say, "Hey, thank you." Why? Because she always said thank you when someone opened the door. See, that's a habit. So see, that'd be a good habit. And see, you start from there. Now you may say, man, that's pretty simple, man. That's pretty elementary. Hey, when you've been living a life and you had a few bad habits jack your life up some, you need to start where you can start. And if you have to get that simple and that's to that degree to help you start identifying some of your good habits, then you should do so. You may have a good habit on how you dress, how you wear your hair, how you do a whole bunch of things. You need to write those down because now this is going to lead to another point. I just share with you your habits are where you live, right? Now, the law that we're going to discuss today out of lesson 5 or chapter 5, all my books are lessons. I don't really have chapters. I know we call them chapters, but I'm a teacher, so I always have lessons. But out of lesson 5, what the habit that we're going to discuss is the law called the law of compounding. And the law of compounding is building behavior. And every day you're either building good behavior or bad behavior. And the law of compounding makes sure you do one or the other. So every day you're building this behavior. So in all actuality, you are a life builder. And the life that you're building is yours by the habits that you're doing. So you said, man, I got this bad, raggedy old life. Well, guess what? It's because you're probably doing bad, raggedy habits, right? If you said, man, okay, I'm pretty good over here, that means you probably have good habits. If you can look at any area of your life, if you're doing anything good, I guarantee you're doing good habits. Guarantee. You said, well, I manage my money well, whatever it may be. I save my $5 for 2 years, right? That means you probably have a money saving habit. Any area where you're doing good. Again, you're not doing everything bad. That's what I want to exemplify here and pretty much emphasize that you're doing some good stuff, right? You're doing some good stuff. Now you're doing some bad stuff too, right? And that's what we're trying to get out of our life. This bad stuff, because we're doing these bad habits, is producing this bad stuff that's preventing us from having more good stuff. Meaning that if I'm not taking time doing good habits, I'm probably doing a bad habit. That thing is getting in the way of me living a good lifestyle. So you have to learn how to do good habits. And here's why. Do something good in your today that your tomorrow will say thank you. See, what happens is if we do a bunch of bad habits, our tomorrow don't say thank you. It probably says something else with a different adjective, right? Because it's saying that you bringing that raggedy thing to me tomorrow. But if you do a good habit, your tomorrow says thank you because you're bringing something good to tomorrow if you should have it tomorrow, right? Now, if you don't have it tomorrow, don't worry about it, right? But if you should have it tomorrow, because you might have one, right? You want to bring something good to it, but you can't bring something good to tomorrow if you don't do anything good in today. That's why it's imperative that you find the good habits that you do. So with the law of compounding, a compound is pretty much a base for whatever it's going to sit on top of, right? You compound something, is a base. And when you compound something, it's like compound interest with money. When interest with money is compounded, you got money on top of money on top of money on top of money, right? That's what happened with compound interest. The interest is compounding on what's already there, the money that's there. You put $100 in there and you get interest, we just say 10%, is compounding on the $100. Then the next day, that 10%, another 10% will compound on $110, and so forth and so on, right? So that's how compound interest works. Well, that's how it works with you and I in our lives. That a habit that we do today, then it's compounded on the habits we did yesterday. And then that means when tomorrow comes, those habits gonna compound on the habits we did today. So you're building this life every day by whether or not you're doing good habits or bad habits. Now, when you compound something, right? Because we say as what we're doing is amassing. You and I are amassing something like amassing, like a person said he or she amassed a lot of money, right? What that means? They got a lot of it, right? They amassed a bunch of stuff. They have a lot of stuff. Well, you and I every day are amassing a bunch of habits every day, right? Every day. I don't care who you are, how old you are, what gender you are, what's your financial status, what's your marital status, any of that stuff, right? You are amassing a bunch of habits every day, right? And you're compounding those habits on the habits you already done, what's already there. Now, if you're going to keep building a bad life, that means you got to keep doing amassing bad habits. Now, here's a universal principle. You might want to write this down and think about this. This is a universal principle. I didn't make this up, man. This thing been here way before I got here, right? It's gonna be here once I leave. So here's the thing. A universal principle is everything produces after its own kind. Everything produces. See, everything produces after its own kind, right? So that means everything that produces after its own kind, like when you put a bad habit with another bad habit, it births another bad habit. See, and so a good habit with another good habit birth another good habit. See, this is how we build up this life because we got these habits all the time, birthing more habits all the time. So you may say, well, not my life, not oh yeah, your life too, right? You're birthing these habits all the time, meaning that you have more rules ruling your life. Now that's good if you have good habits. Birth one good habit, birth another good habit, birth another good habit. You got all these good rules, right, in your life. That means that your life is being ruled by your good habits, and pretty much you're gonna probably live a good lifestyle in the areas where you do good habits. But then on the other side, if you're doing bad habits, then that means you're gonna probably be ruled with bad habits, right, in your life. So when we look at amassing and look at building and everything produces after its own kind, let's look at it like this. Let's say, for instance, you have a family, right? You got a mama, daddy, son, daughter, whatever, right? You got this little family. Now, when the mom and daddy get together, right, and they make these babies, here's what usually happens. You're gonna think I'm really smart when I say this, right? Usually, the children look like one of the parents, right? So, oh, he looked like his daddy. He looked like his mama. She looked like the daddy, right? That's how they do, right? Because they are produced after their own kind. So they look similar. Now they may not look, they're not the same mom like mom and daddy, but they look similar because they were birthed from the mom and dad. Okay. So since they've been birthed from the mom and dad, then you take 20, 25 years later, then the son daughter have a baby and everything. And he said, boy, you look just like your granddad. Look just like your grandma, right? Why? Because they've been birthed out of the same family. Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. When you do a bunch of habits, you're birthing habits, and then they birth habits that similar to or look like the habits that got together. So let's put that into a bad lifestyle. If I have one bad habit, another bad habit, and they get together, I keep doing these bad habits and everything, they birth more bad habits that look similar. So that's why it look like people can have these bad lifestyles. Like that's why people say, man, I got all these bad habits because they're birthing bad habits all the time. So every area of their life they go into, it looks terrible. Not because they're terrible, it's because they're doing bad habits in all these areas. And then the longer they keep going around doing bad habits, they keep birthing more bad habits. Now, see, a family of four is much smaller than a family of 14, right? Well, because we're amassing habits, this family that we're birthing habits is getting larger and larger by the day, right? They're growing up, we're birthing more. So this is a family of habits. Now, a sister word to the word family is familiar. When you have family and everything, mama, daddy, sister, brother, and all these different people, you are familiar with your siblings and parents and all these different things, right? Because they are a family. See, when you do habits a lot, you are familiar with what you're doing. They turn into a family for you. And see, now you got this family of habits, and you say, man, everywhere I go, man, I'm feeling like I'm doing the same thing. Yeah, you got a family of habits that you're taking with you everywhere you go. So now you hear people say, man, I'm a product of my environment. To a certain degree, that could be true, right? Because you got all these familiar habits that you're doing, and they're a family of habits. But really, what it is, you are a product of your habits. Your habits are producing more habits just like them, that's similar to them. And then that's why you have this life that's similar to everywhere you go. This is why it's ridiculous to think that I'm gonna move out the city and to the suburbs. Okay, because they just tell me, things just not working well for me. Great. I'm gonna move out the suburbs into the next state. Okay, one. I'm gonna move out this part of the country to the other part of the country. Okay. I'm gonna move out this country to another country. Okay. I'm getting off this continent and moving to another continent. Okay. And then you look up and say, I have the same situations happening on the north side that I had on the south side. I have the same situations happening that I did in the city that I do out in the suburbs. I have the same situations happening in this northern state that I did in the southern state, or this eastern state that I had in the western state. Man, I had the same situations happening in this country that I had in other countries. Man, you know what? I got the same situations on this continent that I had on the last continent, because you're taking your habits with you, and your habits are birthing more habits just like them. So you're taking your whole family all the time, and you keep birthing all these habits, and your family's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is why your lifestyle looks so similar in so many different areas. See, if you have a bad habits with your health and you keep that up for a while, it won't be long for you look up and you have bad habits in your career. And then you keep it up a little bit longer, you'll look up and say, man, I got bad habits with my money. Keep it up, go a little bit longer. Man, I got bad habits in my relationships. Don't worry, keep it up, go a little bit longer. I got bad habits in my spiritual life. And then you look up 15, 20 years later and say, man, I just got this bad life because I'm just depressed and everything that I go do, I feel bad. Guess what I go do? Another bad habit so I can birth some more bad habits, right? Because I can't escape a bad lifestyle if I keep doing bad habits. The only way I can get away from a bad lifestyle is by doing good habits. Because the same principle that worked, the law that worked for that particular bad habit, they birth each other, birth more habits. It works for good habits too. You start losing, you lose your 25 pounds you want to lose, right? You say, oh, wow. Next thing you know, you can save you $25. Ooh, my finances is getting better. Next thing you know, you start being nicer in your relationship. Ooh, that's getting better. Next thing you know, you might even go to church or something. You might pray or something. You might do something like that once in a while, right? You do better there, right? Next thing you know, you look up, man, you got promoted on the job, or you start a new business or whatever, right? And you said, man, I don't know how this happened after 10, 15 years. It happened because you kept birthing all these good habits every day. And whether you were in the city or the suburbs, sometimes we think people, man, everything he touched or everything she touched turned to gold. I don't care what they do. It seems like they always win, right? That's what we say. But the truth of the matter is, it's not that they always win per se, like something special. If they doing good habits in the city and they take those good habits to the suburbs, they're gonna have good results, right? If they take those good habits from one state and take it to another state, they're gonna have good results, right? If they take that to one part of the country to another part of the country, they're gonna have good results. That's just the way it is. Because the truth of the matter is, you're doing your habits all the time. Now, here's something I want to explain to you. In life, life is like a roller coaster. You have your ups, you have your downs, you have your twists, turns, upside down, shaking you, scaring you, going slow, going fast. Man, that's how life is. You said no, life's not like it's like that for everybody. Like I don't care if you're old, you're young, you're tall, short, whatever it is, your life gonna have its roller coaster moments too. Now that's consistent with life. It's gonna happen to you, gonna happen to me. Right now, you might be cruising on the roller coaster, right? It's all good. Hey, somebody might be on the big old dip right now. Somebody in the twist and turn right now. Now, what's consistent is you're gonna do habits, whether you're in a twist, turn, upside down, going slow, going fast, in a big old dip, or whatever. You're gonna do habits in your life. So this is why it's imperative that you do good habits. And when people that do a lot of good habits, it always looks like they everything they touch turn to gold. It's not that they don't have tough times. It's not that they don't have hard times. It's not that they don't get disappointed. It's not that people don't, everybody like them. No, everybody don't like them. They got people that don't like them just like people don't like you, right? It's not that everybody tell the truth on them. They got people lying on them that's like people lying on you, right? However, they may have different habits and they handle those situations differently because of the habits that they have. See, here's the thing here. Your habits will create situations for you. My habits create situations for me. It goes with all of us. So let's look at the word situation for a moment. The first three letters is sit. Your habits will build a seat for you to sit in. This is why it looks like you have the same situations happening all the time because you're doing the same type of habits all the time. When you stop doing those same type of habits, you will have your life will be in a situation where you have a different seat built, so you will sit in a different situation. Why? Because you're doing different habits. See, if you stop doing good habits and have those habits build a good seat for you that you sit in, and you start doing bad habits, those habits will build a different seat so you can sit in, your situation would change dramatically. Why? Because the habits that you're doing are different. So that means the seat that you're sitting in is different. That's why the situation that you have will be bad. So it's not like you have to be a rocket scientist to figure this thing out, right? Because I'm not the smartest dude on the planet, so I don't come off that way. However, I've had bad habits and just like you, and had good habits just like you, and I'm trying to live a good lifestyle just like you are, right? And trying to beat up bad habits just like you are, right? I'm doing the same things you're doing. I have my roller coaster moments just like you do. However, what I realized in my life, and I'm still a young man, this is what I try to tell myself, right? I'm still a young man, right? That I have habits just like you. So I'm trying to do good habits all the time because I understand the law of compounding is you're going to do good habits, they're going to compound on each other, they're going to build on each other. So I want to build a better tomorrow than I built yesterday. So I'm in my today, I'm building a better today, right? So how do I do that? By doing a good habit. You do the same thing. Now, if I do a bad habit, I'm building a worse today than I did. Remember what I told you last week that every day and every time everything you're doing, either you're doing things to make a good life greater or better, or you're doing things to make a bad life worse. This is every day. Now, somebody need to tell me that at 5 years old, 10 years old, because maybe some stuff I would have not dealt with because I would have knew at 5, 10 years old, oh, this is a bad habit. Let me stop doing this. Because some bad habits led me to do other bad habits. Why? Because bad habits birth more bad habits just like them. And good habits birth good habits just like them. So you have to understand that that same thing happens for you as well. The more you understand that, the better off you will be. So now, let's say what's the beginning then, right? Because nobody pops out the womb and know how to do good habits, and they don't know how to do bad habits. Now, I was in the womb before, just like you, right? Now, I don't remember what I learned in there. I don't think I learned too much anything, right? Because what do babies learn in the womb? Nothing, right? They just, they come out and they shocked, right? So that means that no one taught you in the womb how to live a good life, and no one taught you in the womb how to live a bad life. So what ends up happening? We end up being introduced to habits by the people that we are around, right? Mama, daddy, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, grandma, granddaddy, all these different people, right? Because they're doing their habits all day. I told you, we all doing habits all the time. You, I. So when you got here, mama and them were doing habits, daddy and them was doing habits, grandma and them was doing habits, aunt and them was doing, everybody doing their habits. So you 5 years old and you start doing habits that are acceptable in your environment. For instance, you see people throwing stuff at the wall when they get mad. You know, granddad threw a glass at the wall because he's mad because he got short on his check. Well, then at 5 years old, you throw your toy at the wall because you mad. You know what I'm saying? And so throwing things against the wall in that house is okay. We used to that, right? That's how we live. We throw stuff against the wall, break and tear it up, right? So you used to doing that. By the time you get 15 years old, you got 10 years experience at tearing up stuff because you see that was acceptable in your environment. But then you get around someone and say, hey, don't be tearing up stuff over here. Don't be throwing stuff against the wall. And you wonder why. Because mama does it, daddy does it, grandma do it, granddad do it, auntie does it, everybody does it. Uncle does it, cousin do it, sister do it, brother do it. So that's your environment because they're introducing you to habits. So everyone is passing on their habits to you. Now here's the other thing. You're passing on your habits to everyone you meet too. Now, somebody may be stronger in their habits than you, and you may be stronger in some habits than others. But every day we're passing on habits, whether they're good or bad. Now, so when you are getting invited into the lifestyle, when someone passes on the habit to you. Now, you don't have to take the invitation. It's almost like someone invites you to a party or something, and you can say, no, I'm not coming, right? I'm not going to be there, right? You can be a no show. Well, if somebody passed you a bad habit, you can say, no, I'm not going. I'm not coming into a bad lifestyle. No, I'm gonna be a no show for that. I'm not showing up. Don't expect me to be there. Don't look for me. Don't be looking out the window. I'm not showing up for that bad lifestyle. I don't want nothing to do with that. No parts of that, right? Now, see, this is only applicable if you have ever lived in a bad lifestyle for any length of time. I'd already had my share of those things. I don't want no part of it, right? That's why I try to do good habits as often as I can. I don't want no part of that. I know how it is to cry all night. Things go wrong. You have to look in the mirror and say it was your fault. See, some things in life are out of your control, right? Some things in your life, you can have a pandemic. That's out of your control. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It's out of your control. But 95% of the things that happen in our life, good or bad, it's all within our control. Maybe 5 or 10% of it or so, it's out of your control. Hey, good things happen in your life. Hey, somebody gave you a bonus on the check or whatever, right? That was out of your control. You got somebody bought you a plate of food, right? That's out of your control. Something good happened, right? But most of the bad things that happen to you and I are caused by you and I. We do it to ourselves. And guess how we do it to ourselves? By doing bad habits all the time. So when we're doing these bad habits, because I've been there, and you have to look in the mirror and tell that person in the mirror, man, you messed up my yesterday, right? You messed up my last 5 weeks, my last 5 years. It's your fault. You keep doing those bad habits. You can't blame mama. No, it must be mama's fault. No, it must be daddy's fault. No, 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 no. You understand. You understand. Must be the old people's fault. Young people's fault. Man, must be people outdated. People out married. No, no, no. You gotta look in the mirror and say, man, you the culprit, bro. It's those bad habits you're doing that put you in these bad situations. So you got to sit in these seats because these are the seats you built by the habits that you have. Well, see, that's a tough talk, man. That's hard to swallow. Because see, we good at wanting to blame somebody. It got to be somebody else's fault. That I got this. My finance is bad because my ex-husband, ex-wife. My finance is bad because my ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend. My finance is bad because I got kids. You know what I'm saying? So we say things like this. But wait a minute, maybe your finance is bad because you bad with money, right? You've been invited to use bad habits. You bad with money, and yeah, you have children. Maybe you have a spouse. Maybe you had, and those things might have had a contribution, right? Yeah, maybe you did some things in that scenario. But guess what? Chances are, before you met anybody, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, right? You had your habits, and you probably had bad habits before you met them. And your bad habit just got better. You just got better at doing your bad habits. So now we're gonna blame them for my bad life. Now you met them at 40. You'd had these bad habits since you were 20, and then you get rid of them at 43, and you said those 3 years with them is what tore up your life, right? Those 3 years. Now they could have been some ruthless people and reckless people. I'm not saying that. But what about those 20 years of bad habits you had before you met them? What about that? Those don't account for anything? Oh yeah, they account for a whole lot of things because you took your habits, you take your habits everywhere you go. So when you get invited to do habits, because if we all get introduced, like I just shared with you, you grew up in an environment. Some people got an environment, they go to church every day, right? Or 5 times a week, whatever, right? That's their environment. They're used to doing that. That's their environment. That's how they live. Those are habits. They don't know nothing about church at 4 years old. They just know they there all the time, right? And then they just keep doing that. That's their habit. And they meet people that have the same type of habit like them. That's there every day. Some people at the liquor store 5 times a week. They meet people that's there every day, 5 times a week. Neither one of these people are better than the other. Neither one of these people are worse than the other. It's just they have different habits, so they meet and do different things, and people passing on their habits to you all the time. So you have to realize, who do I have around me passing habits to me? Because they're giving you something. I give people habits, they give me habits, right? That's what we do. Not that I'm different than you and my life is different than yours. It's just that's how it goes in this thing called life. So you have what I call an account, and your habits are filling this account. It's not a bank account, it's called a life account. And you're going to have to actually reap what you sow, which is the habits that you do. Now, again, that's part of building a life. Now, when I build this life, you build this life, that means that one part of building is like a construction person. You want a house built, you get a house builder, right? You want to build a building, you want to get someone that a construction worker. Construct means to build together, right? So you're building together a life all the time. And every now and then you need to step back and look at your life and say, hey, what that thing look like? See when you inside the house, you don't really know what the house look like outside. Once you step outside the house, you say, I need to cut my grass. Right? Man, look at that shingle up there falling off. Man, look at that stuff over there. But as long as you stay in the house, you really can't see outside the house. Well, see, once you take a look at your habits, which is the law of examining, right? And which is how you examine your life. Once you take a look at your life and examine the habits that you're doing, now you can examine the life that you're living. And if it's an area in your life that you want to improve upon, then you need to find some people, read a book or whatever to learn how to do a good habit in that area. Why? Because everything produces after its own kind. That means that when I get this good habit, it's going to produce another good habit just like it. It's gonna be a son or daughter just like it, and then they're gonna grow up and produce more kids, right? That's what they're gonna do. So if I don't do that, and I say forget learning how to lose 20 pounds, I'm not going to learn how to do. I'm not gonna read none on. I'm not gonna talk to no physical trainer. I'm not doing any of that. Well, don't worry, keep your same habits. You gain another 20 pounds. Now you need to lose 40. Then you say, I'll forget that. I'm not going. I'm not learning that from there. I'm not looking at that video on how to lose weight and do no exercise. I'm not learning anything. Okay, a few years later, you done gain another 40 pounds. Now you need to lose 120 pounds. And when we get so out of shape, because our life is putting us in shape, this is when we normally give up. Look at me, I need to lose 120 pounds, man. Take it and leave. This is me. This is how I am. I know I'm 425 pounds, but this is me, right? Now you don't want to lose no weight. Help with your heart, and help. Hey, this is me. This is me. This is how I am. Well, see, you keep this me up, you're gonna go from 420 to 480, and then everyone is supposed to, in your mind, is to accept your bad habit, your bad behavior. I'm supposed to accept your bad behavior because it's your bad behavior. Now, here's what I know now. I don't know everything. There's no law on the planet that say I got to accept your bad behavior because it's yours. That's your bad behavior. People don't have to accept your bad behavior, but I'm their mama. I'm their daddy. I'm their son. I'm their daughter. I'm their sister, brother. What does that mean? Nobody want to be bothered with people with a bunch of bad habits ruining their life, because then you're going to bring those bad habits to somebody else's life and ruin theirs. And they already got their own fight going on with the bad habits they got. They got their 5 bad habits they trying to beat up on. You gonna bring your 35 bad habits over there to their life. They having a tough time with their 5. They definitely gonna have a tougher time with your 35 plus they 5. So that's just why you have to do better habits so you can stick yourself in the lives to help people do better in their lives, and at the same time open your life up so people can do better with give you better habits to do in your life. However, if you don't take the time to do good habits, I'm telling you, your life won't change. You're gonna be in some of the same situations, doing the same thing, building all these bad seats throughout your life, and then you're gonna always want to try to find someone to blame. Now you're 60 years old, 65 years old, trying to find out it's too late for me now. Here's something I want you to realize. It's never too late to do a good habit. But I'm 72 years old. It's still not too late. But I done bad habits for 42 years. I understand. But it's never too late to do a good habit. If you want to live a good lifestyle. If you don't want to live a good lifestyle, then you can give it up. It's been a statement that's been said. Most people die at 25 and they're buried at 65. And when I heard that when I was in my early 20s. So I wanted to refute it and say, no, that can't be true. It seemed like everybody I know wanted something, right? As I got older, I said, man, that statement still isn't true. I just wanted to change it a little. I said, most people die at 22. They just buried them when they're 72. And what happens is you can find a 25-year-old that may have had a bad habit the last 5 years. Oh, man, I can't get rid of it. And you find a 75-year-old, and their conversations are exactly the same. It's too late. I don't even know why I'm going to try to do a good habit. It's too late. And you say, well, you're only 25. And you said, you're only 75, right? You still might have time to live, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to live 10, 15 years. I don't care if you're 25 or 75. However, if you should get to your tomorrow, if you should get to your next week or your next month or your next year or your next decade, wouldn't it make more sense to do good habits for the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, or the next decade? Wouldn't it make sense to just do that? If that's going to be your last 5, 10 years, wouldn't it make sense to go out on a good note, right? Doing good habits? It doesn't make sense to say, well, I've been doing bad habits for 5 years and I'm 30 years old, forget it. Well, how about if you live to 40? Won't you want to go ahead and do good habits for the next 10? No, well, I'm just gonna do these bad habits. So you're gonna ravage your life by doing bad habits. And so you're gonna go out this thing in a bad way, right? You want to do as many good habits as possible so you can improve your life as much as possible. The better you get at doing good habits, the better you're gonna do in life. So I kind of share with you pretty much the anchor, the foundation of lesson 5, which is the law of compounding, building behavior. and how obviously you're going to master a lot of habits, right? And you're being introduced to these habits. So these habits create situations or circumstances. This is your environment. Your habits will produce an environment for you so that your habits can fit into a lifestyle that you're going to live. Now, if that's the case, then you need to understand that I need to examine my habits, which is the law of examining, right? Then you also need to actually understand there's a law called the law of feeling. See, when you feel something, you do something. See, how you feel has a lot to do with what you're going to do, right? If you normally, when people feel bad, let's say, for instance, something happened terrible in your life, and your terrible could be a different terrible than somebody else. But I'm going to say, hey, someone passed away. That may be terrible, right? Oh man, my friend, whoever, right, passed away, right? And that's terrible because they're gone. Now we know everybody got to get up out of here, but we don't want to get up out of here, right? Or something happened, you lose a job. Some people will go out there and try to, because they feel bad, they'll go out there and do a habit to make them feel. They think they're making them feel good, but they're trying to get away from feeling bad. And usually, when we try to get away from feeling bad, we normally do bad habits. This goes into the law of pleasure. And the law of pleasure is enjoying behavior. So, see, if you enjoy the behavior because you're trying to find pleasure in what you do, there's nothing wrong with that. All of us are trying to find pleasure in what we do. One person finds pleasure in drinking a glass of cold water, and another person finds pleasure in drinking a glass of vodka. They're trying to both find pleasure, right? Now, the glass of vodka and the glass of water gonna have two different effects on the people drinking, right? Even though they both were glass and they both was clear, right? But they're gonna do something different to each person. Well, here is the law of pleasure. Since you are enjoying behavior, and that means there's a sister word to the word pleasure. It's called pleasant, meaning that you're always searching for a pleasant experience. That's what we do. What's pleasurable, a pleasant experience, we are trying to find. It could be running around the block, it could be dancing, it could be singing, it could be watching television, whatever it may be, right? We're trying to find a pleasurable or a pleasant experience to have. Nothing wrong with that at all. You need to know that's what we always doing. However, now we need to see our mode of operation, our mode of operandus, MO. We need to find out what are we doing to try to get that pleasurable experience. This is where the habit comes in. Wanting a pleasurable experience is not bad. How you try to get to the pleasurable experience is good or bad, which is based on the habit you do. So once you understand this, you start saying, whoa. How come I have to always do this bad habit because I feel bad, because I'm trying to feel good or feel pleasure? So here's something for you. The word pleasure has a sister word called please, right? And when you look at please could be looked at a couple of ways. You can say, hey, pass me the potatoes, please. You're asking nicely, right? It's a nice and polite way of asking for something. Hey, please. Hey, would you do that for me, please? Right? That's nice. That's asking nicely and polite. When you do a habit, you're asking politely for the lifestyle. Okay, now let's put this. This is really going to make some sense. Make sense to me. Well, anyway, if you do a bad habit, you are asking politely to live a bad lifestyle. Now, who in their right mind would ask politely? I think I want 2 years of that, 3 years of that bad stuff, 5 years of that bad stuff. Nobody would do that. But when you do bad habits, you are asking politely for a bad lifestyle. When you do good habits, you are asking politely for a good lifestyle. Because all of us say, oh, let me get 2 years of that good, 2 years of those good financial results. Yeah, I want that. And I want 5 years of those good relationships. Yep. I want 3 years of that good career. Yep, that's what I want. That's what you would start picking. Because you don't pick the future that you want, you pick the habit that you do. And the habit that you do will pick the future that you're gonna live. If you say, well, I'm living a bad life, well, it's probably because you picked bad habits, and the bad habits you picked up are the bad habits that you're doing, which means that this is a bad lifestyle that you got to live. Because bad habits fit into a bad lifestyle perfectly. Good habits fit into a good lifestyle perfectly. Once you understand that, then you start doing more good habits. Now, when you do more good habits, say, oh, how come nothing good happened to me? I did it one day in a row. Okay, if you want to live a good lifestyle for that day, you did okay, right? You did good habits, right? Well, tomorrow when you should wake up, if that's what you do, then you want to do good habits again. Your job, this is why it's important. I share with you in the first part one, and this is part two, that you have to list the good habits that you do. You have to also list the good habits that you want to do. Once you start doing these things, every time you do the good habit, you're putting yourself more into the good lifestyle. Every time you don't do the good habits, that means you have to do the bad habits, meaning that you're putting yourself asking politely, please, can I live that bad life? Please. Can I get 3 years of addiction? Please. Can I tell 5 relationships with my family friends? Please. Now, I mean, I know I'm being a little facetious, but that's what we do with bad habits. Folks get their bad habits. Oh, I just can't wait in 10 years. I just want to be so addicted. Yes, I just, please, can I get to get that some of that addiction? Ooh, please, please, can I just get me a criminal record? Please, pretty please. Nobody, I know it sounds silly, but that's what how silly bad habits have us look when we're doing them. We're begging, pleading, asking, requesting for a bad lifestyle every time we do bad habits. Instead of begging, pleading, asking, and requesting for a good lifestyle by doing good habits. So you are the person that's building your life. Yeah, you might have been introduced to some bad habits. You know, when they say, I'm gonna go back just a little. When they say people are a product of their environment, right? You know, everybody in that environment get high or whatever, right? That's what they say. But that's not true. It may be a lot of people in that environment that's doing that, but everybody over there is not doing that. Everybody over there is not breaking in buildings and robbing banks and lying and stealing and cheat. Everybody not doing that. You may have a lot of people, maybe a few people, but it looks like a lot when you put all 25 of them together. Ooh, look at all those people doing that. Yeah, but that's 25 people out of 25,000 people. So it looks like a lot of people doing it because you got all 25 of them together. Well, see, that's the same thing it is with your habits, right? That nobody is all, because a lot of people been raised in bad neighborhoods, right? But that does, I know several people that have been raised in bad neighborhoods, drug infested areas and everything, and never used drugs, never used any alcohol. Had a family of everybody in that family drink. That's all they did. Well, okay, if they're a product of their environment, how come they didn't drink too? If they're a product of their environment, how come they didn't get addicted to drugs too? You know why? Because you and I can use this law called the law of choice. And the law of choice is selecting behavior. You can choose what habit you're going to do. That's a lot of power that you and I have. You can choose to do a bad habit and you can choose to do a good habit. See, that almost sounds like it's not fair. Because see, that takes the responsibility of my life out of somebody else's hands and put my life or the responsibility of my life in my hands. And see, if my life is in my hands and I don't have good hands and I know how to drop my life all the time, I may not want that responsibility. That's why I want to blame somebody else. But when they realize the law of choice is choosing or selecting behavior, you have chose this lifestyle because you have chose the habits that's connected to it. Now that's cool if it's a good habit and a good lifestyle. Ooh, I chose that good habit. That's what I got. I got a good lifestyle. Ooh, I chose that bad habit. I got a bad lifestyle. You made that choice. And every day you wake up, you have the choice to do a habit. You want to lose the 20 pounds? You can choose to do habits to lose 20 pounds. You want to keep the weight off? You can choose to do habits to keep the weight off. You want to save $5? You can choose to save the $5. You don't want to save the $5? You can choose not to save it. That's all in your hands. That's all the habits that you do. You spend your money right when you get it. You get paid on the 15th. You spent all your money on the 14th. You get paid on the 3rd. You spent it on the 2nd. See, that's a habit. How many months have you been doing that? Oh, for about 8 years. And you trying to figure out why you don't have any money when you get paid. Maybe it's the habit that you're doing, but you're choosing to do that habit. Nobody's making you do that habit. See, the government's not making you do a bad habit. The government's not making you do a good habit. Your mama's not making you do a good habit. You're making you do a bad habit. Your daddy, your best friend. Just because somebody you have the choice to do a habit, it's always up to you whether or not you're going to do it. Are you going to get a reading habit? You're going to read a book a month? That's your choice. You say, I'm not going to read a book a month because I don't want to read nothing. That's your choice too. Well, how come I don't know nothing? Probably because you don't read anything. Well, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. You made the choice not to read something for 2 years. Now you wondering why you can't figure out nothing 2 years later. That was your choice. And who can fight a person when they make the choice to live do a habit, a good one or a bad one? None of us can do that. So if you don't understand that you are choosing this lifestyle, that you are selecting this lifestyle, then you won't understand that you have the power to actually live a good lifestyle, and you also have the power to live a bad lifestyle. You are in total control of that. Again, not 100% because some things out of your control. Yeah, you're gonna get your bad times. Yep, that's gonna happen. See, a bad habit is like throwing a rock into the water. It's gonna go right to the bottom. That's what you're gonna do. You got bad habits. Good habits will have you swimming like a fish, even though you got thrown into the same water. See, and so that's how come some people can navigate through bad situations and seem like they always come out on top. It's because of the habits they doing. It don't mean that God loves somebody more than somebody else. I know people say that He loved me. That's why I got out of. Well, no, whatever. But I know something real simple in life. You do good habits and you go through a bad time. It won't be long before you're gonna be on top of the bad time because you did good habits. You do bad habits and go through a bad time. It won't be long before you be further down than you were before the bad time. You do good habits when a good time come up, it's gonna seem like you're gonna be even higher. You do bad habits when good times show up, it don't seem like good times didn't even touch your life because of the habits that you did. So we have said a lot. I said, how much time I got there? I'm about wrapping up. Okay. So that's the recap. This was part two, living a good life, doing better habits, right? We went over the law of compounding, which is chapter 5 in the book for those of you all that have it. And you can go over a lot of things I said. I also talked about, let me see, I talked about the law of choice, which is chapter 6 in the book. So, you can read that too. And if you want to, if you have the book, you can get in touch with me. If you have any questions, people send me questions to fullerpurposemedia@gmail.com, OFPURPOSEMEDIA@gmail.com. And then I get back with you and everything. And then we can, I try to address your questions on this particular show or next week, not on the next episode that we do. Again, great people are born that way. You were born to be great. However, you got to do work on yourself so that you can become greater. And I appreciate you taking the time, listening to this and looking at this. Look at it many times, share with other people as well. And I'll see you next time. Good.